Every time you let the world see what affects you, you hand strangers the blueprint to your destruction. Every moment you spend seeking approval, avoiding conflict, or explaining yourself to people who've already decided to misunderstand you, you are not building strength. You are constructing a prison of other people's opinions and locking yourself inside. In the arena of mental dominance, the untouchable are not born. They are forged through brutal lessons that most people are too comfortable to learn. Think about your current state. You wake up checking what others think. You adjust your behavior based on judgment. You carry the weight of opinions that don't matter. You thought you were being considerate. You've been enslaving yourself to a jury that will never be satisfied. Why are you so concerned with what others think of you? Why do you need validation from people who wouldn't risk anything to help you succeed? Why do you let the words of strangers or the disappointment of those who never supported you dictate your choices, your mood, your entire life direction? You've been socialized to believe that caring what others think makes you human, empathetic, connected. This is a lie designed to keep you controllable. Think about the mental energy you waste every single day managing perceptions. You curate your image. You filter your words. You perform for an audience that isn't even watching because they're too busy performing for their own imaginary audience. You are exhausted by a game no one is actually playing. Think about the last time you made a decision. Was it based on what you truly wanted? Or was it based on what you thought others would approve of? You've noticed it, haven't you? The gap between who you are and who you pretend to be is widening. And that gap is filled with anxiety, resentment, and a quiet rage at yourself for living a borrowed life. Machiavelli observed that a prince who tries to please everyone pleases no one, including himself. He understood that the need for universal approval is the fastest path to universal mediocrity. Sun Tzu warned that the general who fears the opinions of his soldiers will never win the war. Both understood what you haven't grasped yet. Mental freedom begins the moment you stop negotiating your reality with people who have no stake in your victory. You are trading long-term sovereignty for short-term comfort. You are surrendering your mental peace to avoid momentary conflict. You are fundamentally wrong about what it means to be strong. Strength is not adaptation to others' expectations. Strength is the refusal to be moved by them. You are currently suffering from consensus addiction. You need agreement. You need people to validate your choices. You need external confirmation that you're on the right path. This makes you weak. This makes you predictable. This makes you a slave to collective opinion. And collective opinion is designed by those who benefit from your compliance, not your excellence. Today we are dismantling mental slavery and replacing it with the 5 laws of untouchability. These are Machiavelli's core lessons, refined through centuries of power dynamics and psychological warfare. Most of you will ignore this message. You'll say you can't just stop caring what people think. You'll insist that some opinions matter. You'll defend your need for connection and approval. Your attachment to being liked is exactly what keeps you mentally imprisoned. If you want to stay comfortable, stay popular, stay approved by people who aren't even living their own lives authentically, leave now. This isn't for you. But if you want the mental fortress that makes you immune to judgment, criticism, and the emotional manipulation of the masses, then stay. Because the mentally untouchable are not the ones everyone likes. They are the ones no one can break. They are the ones who've built an internal reality so strong that external opinions bounce off like rain on stone. The person who controls their mind controls their world. Everyone else is controlled by the world. Lesson 1. Eliminate the need for understanding. You waste enormous mental energy trying to make people understand you. You over-explain your decisions. You justify your choices. You defend your perspective to people who've already decided you're wrong. You think if you just explain it better, they'll finally get it. They'll finally see your point. They'll finally validate your position. You are fundamentally mistaken. Most people don't misunderstand you. They understand you perfectly. They just disagree with you, or they benefit from keeping you doubting yourself. When you need others to understand you, you've given them veto power over your life. You've made your peace contingent on their comprehension. You've surrendered your mental sovereignty to their interpretation. Look at how much time you've spent trying to get your family to understand your choices. Trying to get your friends to see why you're changing. Trying to get strangers on the internet to agree with your perspective. What has this achieved? Has it brought you peace? Or has it brought you endless frustration as you realize people will believe what they want regardless of your explanation? Machiavelli taught that a prince does not explain himself to his subjects. He acts, and they adjust. The need for understanding is a weakness that signals you don't fully trust your own judgment. If you truly believed in your path, you wouldn't need others to validate it. The strategic shift is radical acceptance of misunderstanding. Let them misunderstand. Let them get it wrong. Let them create entire fictional versions of you in their minds. None of it affects your reality unless you allow it to. From this second forward, you stop explaining yourself. Someone questions your choices. You don't defend them. Someone misinterprets your actions. You don't correct them. Someone decides you're wrong about something. You let them be wrong about you. This isn't about being difficult. This is about recognizing that your mental energy is finite, and spending it on explanation is spending it on nothing. You are building a mind that doesn't require external validation to function. You know why you do what you do. That's enough. The untouchable don't explain. They simply are. Lesson 2: Master the art of strategic silence. You talk too much. You share too much. You reveal your plans, your struggles, your victories, your vulnerabilities. You think this is a connection. What you're actually doing is handing ammunition to anyone who decides they want to hurt you. Every piece of information you volunteer is a potential weapon in someone else's hands. You've been socialized to believe that openness is strength and vulnerability is courage. In the world of mental dominance, openness is exposure and vulnerability is tactical suicide. Think about the last time you shared something personal. Maybe it was a struggle you were facing. Maybe it was a goal you were working toward. Maybe it was a fear you couldn't shake. What happened to that information? Some people seemed supportive. But notice how some used it against you later. Notice how your struggle became gossip. Notice how your goal became something they sabotaged. Notice how your fear became a button they learned to push. You gave them the map to your weaknesses, and you're surprised they're using it. Sun Tzu wrote that all warfare is based on deception, and the first deception is appearing to be what you are not. The master conceals strength and reveals weakness strategically. But you've been doing the opposite. You reveal everything and conceal nothing. You are transparent in a world that rewards opacity. The people who dominate mentally are the ones you can't read. They share selectively. They reveal strategically. They keep their true thoughts, plans, and vulnerabilities locked behind walls no one can penetrate. This isn't about being fake. This is about being sovereign. You don't owe anyone access to your internal world. You don't owe anyone real-time updates on your life. You don't owe anyone the truth about what you're building, struggling with, or planning. The strategic alternative is information containment. You become a vault. You share surface-level pleasantries. You give neutral responses. You keep the real you hidden from everyone except the very few who've proven they deserve access. Watch what happens when you stop talking. People become uncertain. They can't predict you. They can't manipulate you. They can't use your words against you. You've become mentally untouchable by becoming unknowable. Lesson 3. Develop emotional independence. You need people too much. You need their approval, their support, their presence, their validation. When they withdraw any of these, you destabilize. When they're disappointed in you, you're crushed. When they're unavailable, you're anxious. When they don't respond how you hoped, you spiral. You think this is love or connection or being human. What it actually is dependency. And dependency is the opposite of mental freedom. Your emotional state should not be hostage to other people's moods, choices, or availability. Yet here you are, your entire day ruined because someone didn't text back. Your whole week was destroyed because someone criticized you. Your mental peace shattered because someone you care about is upset with you. You've outsourced your emotional stability to people who are barely stable themselves. You've made your inner peace contingent on external factors you cannot control. This is insanity masquerading as connection. Look at how much power you've given to people who wouldn't cross the street to help you in a crisis. They ignore you and you're devastated. They criticize you and you doubt everything. They withdraw attention and you chase them. You are a puppet and they are not even pulling the strings intentionally. You're pulling them yourself by needing them too much. Machiavelli understood that a prince who needs his subjects more than they need him will always be at their mercy. The power dynamic is simple. Whoever needs the other person less controls the relationship. The shift to emotional independence is brutal but necessary. You stop needing anyone's approval to feel okay. You stop needing anyone's presence to feel complete. You stop needing anyone's validation to know your worth. This doesn't mean you don't have relationships. It means your relationships are a choice, not a requirement. You enjoy people but you don't need them. You appreciate support but you don't collapse without it. You love people but their absence doesn't destroy you. This is the foundation of mental untouchability. When you need nothing from others, they can take nothing from you. Lesson 4. Accept that most people will disappoint you. You keep expecting people to show up the way you would show up for them. You keep believing that if you're loyal, supportive, and present, others will reciprocate. You keep trusting that people mean what they say and will follow through on what they promise. You are setting yourself up for perpetual disappointment. Most people are not who they present themselves to be. Most people will not be there when it matters. Most people are operating from their own self-interest and you're a background character in their story. This truth destroys most people because they can't reconcile it with their worldview. They want to believe in the goodness of humanity. They want to trust that loyalty is reciprocal. They want to think that their investment in others will be returned. It won't. Look at your history. How many times have you been there for someone only to find them absent when you needed them? How many times have you trusted someone only to be betrayed? How many times have you expected reciprocity only to receive silence? The pattern is clear. You've just been refusing to see it because seeing it means accepting a harsh reality. Sun Tzu warned never to rely on others doing what they should do, but to prepare for what they could do. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should trust no one completely, because complete trust leads to complete vulnerability. The mentally untouchable operate from a baseline assumption that people will disappoint. Not from cynicism, but from realism. They hope for the best but expect nothing. This protects them from the emotional devastation that comes with unmet expectations. From this moment forward, you lower your expectations to zero. You stop expecting people to match your energy. You stop waiting for reciprocity. You stop believing promises until they're proven through action. You give because you choose to give, not because you expect a return. You show up because it aligns with your values, not because you think it obligates others. When someone disappoints you, you're not shocked. You're not hurt. You simply adjust your level of investment in them accordingly. This is emotional pragmatism. This is mental protection. This is how you become untouchable by expectation. Lesson 5: Own your decisions completely. You make decisions, then spend weeks or months doubting them. You choose a path, then constantly look back wondering if you should have gone another way. You commit to something, then second-guess yourself the moment it gets difficult. You are your own worst enemy. You are sabotaging yourself with indecision disguised as reflection. The mentally weak make decisions and remain uncertain. The mentally untouchable make decisions and move forward without looking back. Every time you doubt a decision you've already made, you split your energy. Part of you is moving forward. Part of you is still standing at the crossroads wondering if you chose wrong. This divided energy guarantees mediocre results. You can't fully commit to your path when you're still questioning whether you should be on it. You can't execute at the highest level when you're constantly second-guessing the strategy. You've been taught that reconsidering is wisdom. Sometimes it is. Most times it's just fear dressed up as thoughtfulness. Think about the major decisions you've made in the past year. How many of them do you still question? How many of them do you replay, wondering what would have happened if you'd chosen differently? This mental loop is destroying your present moment. You're not here. You're stuck in a past decision, torturing yourself with counterfactuals. Meanwhile, the real players are 3 steps ahead because they made their choice and committed to making it the right choice through execution. Machiavelli taught that a prince must make decisions boldly and defend them completely, because the perception of indecision is more dangerous than a wrong decision defended well. Sun Tzu wrote that in war, the committed force defeats the hesitant force even when outnumbered. Both understood that total commitment transforms average decisions into victories, while hesitation transforms great decisions into defeats. The mentally untouchable own every choice completely. The practice is absolute ownership. You make a decision. You commit to it fully. You stop entertaining the alternative timelines. You stop wondering what if. You stop asking others if you made the right choice. You made the choice. Now you make it right through execution. If it fails, you learn and make the next decision with that knowledge. But you never torture yourself with doubt about decisions already made. This is mental discipline. This is how you become untouchable by regret. You are always moving forward because you refuse to live in the cemetery of past choices. But now we need to talk about why all 5 of these lessons feel impossible to implement. You think the problem is external. You think it's about other people being difficult or circumstances being challenging. The real problem is internal. You have not built the foundation that makes untouchability possible. You are trying to be mentally strong while sitting on a foundation of insecurity, trauma, and unexamined beliefs. It won't work. You can't build a fortress on sand. Your need for understanding comes from not understanding yourself. Your need to talk comes from not trusting your own judgment. Your emotional dependency comes from not knowing how to meet your own needs. Your inability to accept disappointment comes from unrealistic beliefs about human nature. Your indecision comes from lack of self-trust. Every external problem is pointing to an internal weakness you haven't addressed. This is where you're losing the real battle. While you're trying to fix your reactions, you haven't fixed your foundation. The mentally untouchable have done the internal work that most people avoid. They've sat with their insecurities until they dissolved. They've faced their traumas until they healed. They've examined their beliefs until they rebuilt them on truth instead of conditioning. This is the invisible work that creates visible strength. You can't fake this. You can't perform this. You either do the work or you stay mentally vulnerable no matter how many tactics you learn. Machiavelli understood that a fortress with weak foundations will fall regardless of how thick the walls are. Sun Tzu wrote that the general who knows himself and knows his enemy will never be defeated. The path to mental untouchability runs through brutal self-examination. You have to understand why you need approval. You have to trace where your need to explain comes from. You have to identify why you're emotionally dependent. You have to discover why you expect so much from people. You have to figure out why you can't commit to your own decisions. From this second forward, you commit to the internal audit. You're not just implementing the 5 laws. You're dismantling the psychological structures that made you vulnerable in the first place. This is deep work. This is painful work. This is work most people will never do because it requires facing truths about yourself that are uncomfortable. But this is the work that creates actual transformation. The 5 laws are tactics. The internal audit is a strategy. Tactics without strategy fail. Strategy with tactics dominates. The person you were when you started this video is dead. That person needed understanding from others. That person shared everything with everyone. That person was emotionally dependent. That person kept expecting reciprocity. That person couldn't commit to their own choices. That person was mentally touchable. You are no longer that person. From this moment forward, you are becoming a fortress. The one whose mind cannot be penetrated by opinion, judgment, or manipulation. You are developing the 5 pillars of untouchability. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to explain. You don't need validation. You don't expect anything. You own every decision completely. These aren't just behaviors. This is your new identity. You are someone who cannot be moved by external forces because you've anchored yourself to internal truth. This transformation brings a specific kind of freedom that most people will never experience. You walk through life unburdened by others' opinions. You make decisions without the paralysis of doubt. You maintain emotional stability regardless of who's present or absent. You're never disappointed because you never expected anything. You're never manipulated because no one has access to your buttons. You have become a sovereign entity in a world of people who are slaves to external validation. You are no longer playing the mental game everyone else is losing. You're not trying to be understood. You're not trying to be liked. You're not trying to meet expectations. You have withdrawn from the entire system of approval-seeking and people-pleasing. This makes you dangerous. This makes you free. This makes you mentally untouchable. The old you needed the world to be different. The new you has changed your relationship to the world entirely. You are no longer available for mental manipulation. You're not available for guilt trips. You're not available for emotional blackmail. You're not available for the opinions of people who aren't living at your level. You have built a mind that operates independent of external chaos. This is sovereignty. This is dominance. This is what it means to be mentally untouchable. If you've made it to this point, you are part of the rare 1% who understand that mental freedom is not given. It is taken. Most people abandoned this message when they realized it requires them to completely rebuild how they relate to the world. They went back to seeking approval, explaining themselves, and being emotionally dependent on others. They chose comfort over sovereignty. But you stayed. You have what it takes to become untouchable. This video introduced the 5 laws. The complete transformation requires going deeper into each law, understanding the psychological mechanisms that keep you trapped, and building the internal foundation that makes untouchability permanent. If you're ready to master your mind completely, if you're ready to become immune to judgment, criticism, and manipulation. Join the inner circle where we dismantle mental slavery and rebuild mental dominance. This isn't therapy. This is psychological warfare for your own liberation. Like this video right now if you're ready to become mentally untouchable. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next lesson builds on these 5 laws with advanced applications. Miss it and you'll stay mentally vulnerable while others ascend to sovereignty. The people around you are going to notice something different about you. They're going to try to make you explain yourself. They're going to test your boundaries. They're going to expect your old reactions. Give them nothing. Let them wonder. Let them realize they're dealing with someone who's evolved beyond their games. Stop seeking understanding. Stop explaining yourself. Stop needing validation. Stop expecting reciprocity. Stop doubting your decisions. The 5 laws are now your operating system. Mental slavery or mental sovereignty. Touchable or untouchable. There is no middle ground. The choice is yours. The approval seeking has ended. The sovereignty has begun. I'll see you at the top.